You're welcome back. We are talking manifestos, and I have two guests in the studio. My first guest to my left is Alfred Thompson. He's a member of the MPP's campaign team. Alfred, you're welcome. And then the director of elections at the National Democratic Congress, Mr. Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo. Welcome, gentlemen. Let me start with Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo. I watched the president. He appeared very refreshed. Sometimes he appears tired. Yesterday, he appeared very refreshed. He was on top of the issues. And I guess you were in the banquet hall yesterday. Yes, what's your preliminary assessment of what happened yesterday?
Well, I think it was a very novel system. I mean, it's a novelty. It hasn't happened before. Normally what we do is that we launch our manifesto in a very grand, style, in a form of getting people together, the party, rank and file, and then we choose a venue and we all meet, and then the tenets of the manifesto, the very important areas of the manifestos are highlighted, outlined, and then we crown it with pomp and pageantry, and then we live in some excitement. And so that has been the normal way of doing things. This time around, His Excellency decided that we mean serious business, and for that matter, he wanted to have time to expatiate on the highlight, and then highlights the salient areas of the manifesto, so that when we go for the launching, which obviously will be interspersed with
singing and dancing and excitement,
and then excitement, and then we crown with a rally. It doesn't take the import of the content of the manifesto away. That is why we decided this time around to separate the highlight from the launching. And so it has even afforded us an opportunity to meet here and then digest some of the issues that were raised yesterday. And of course, we believe that the icing will be put on the cake
in Sunyani
when we go to Sunyani on Saturday.
That's a very clever move, because yesterday, virtually the entire town, especially in Accra and other cities, were locked down. Everybody was listening to the president. If it was at the stadium, nobody would hear what he would say, because at your campaign launch, by the time he was talking, virtually everybody had left because people had to rush back to their areas. But let me talk to Alfred. Yeah. I'm sure you monitored every bit of what was being said.
Yeah, I watched it. I listened to it. And personally, if you ask me, I would say it was quite disappointing. I really was disappointed in the presentation.
Which is expected anyway.
No, it's not expected. Let's be realistic. Let's be realistic about this. When you tell me you are going to give highlights, I expect you to at least give some bulletin points.
But he did that.
I'm coming. Let me land. You realize that he was flipping through the manifesto, trying to pick points here and there, which means that the drafters of the manifesto could not even put the highlight together for him, because you have to read. It has to be consistent. But he was going through his papers as usual and saying, oh, okay, I finished this side, just a little bit more here, and would. He was trying to wrap up on every other page, trying to flip through in and out. But you realize that the whole manifesto thing, the highlight, it wasn't something that was planned. It wasn't planned. It was just because Dr. Bawumia had brought out certain points that were very painfully taken by the NDC. So they needed to do something to cut off the highlights that was on the main points that Dr. Bawumia brought into perspective.
The decision to do the highlights was actually announced before Dr. Bawumia's before Dr. Bawumia's lecture, because it was not ad hoc. It was not just. It didn't just happen.
Wasn't the
because
decision
I was aware that this was going to happen before Dr. Bawumia.
Because they knew Dr. Bawumia. No, they knew Dr. Bawumia was going to do his lecture on that particular fateful Tuesday. Was it Tuesday or Monday? Let me tell you something. 2 weeks they gave us that after their launch of their campaign, they were going to launch their manifesto, wasn't it? And they told us later on that the president was traveling on a foreign trip. The excuse was that the president was going on a foreign trip, so he wouldn't be around to go to Sunyani to launch the manifesto. Lo and behold, the president didn't travel out on a foreign trip.
He did.
He didn't. Around that time, he didn't. I monitored And I realized that he didn't travel.
The point about they postponing is actually not new, because your own party, you did the same, because you postponed.
We haven't given a date for the manifesto.
Really?
We didn't give a date.
Because when your presidential candidate was supposed to go to the IEA, your communications director, Nana Komia, explained that the reason he didn't go was that you wanted your manifesto to be ready. In fact, you had given a date that he was going to go, and then you called for a postponement. And Nana Komia's explanation was you called for the postponement because you needed to tighten some loose ends within the manifesto, because you had actually
we give you a time.
You had thought that by that time the manifesto would have been ready, but it wasn't quite ready.
But
so you had to ask for a postponement.
We gave a time that he was going for the IEA, and we gave the time that within was it 2 weeks before, so he would give the manifesto before going for the IEA. So it runs consistently with his plans that he's put in place.
So, for example, let's look at the way the presentation was structured. The president decided to pick, in fact, the manifesto itself is structured in 4 thematic areas. The social infrastructure, expanding infrastructure, governance, and all of that. That's how it was structured. Let's take the first one, which has to do with education and the provision of social infrastructure generally. How would you say the NDC government did in terms of that first leg?
Well, let me first and foremost say that the president was very much on top of issues. The president had his own style of presentation, and I do not think that anybody at all prescribed the way the president should do his presentation. And I think that the president did it in a very sequential manner. It shows that he understood everything that he was doing.
Yes, he did. So the first one was putting people first.
Putting people first. And indeed, he spoke about education. And if you look at the education sector, you realize that a lot has been achieved under President Mahama in less than 4 years. In fact, if you look at secondary education, for instance, we had about 600 plus secondary schools in this country since independence. And if our president, which within his 4-year mandate, promised to deliver 200 new community senior secondary schools, out of which 123 are ongoing, and a number of them have been commissioned, and several of them are in various stages of completion, and it tells you the kind of impact that we have made in the education sector. Indeed.
But let's stick with that one. Yeah. And I'm sure that you would have been aware that this is one of the promises that appears to be haunting the president, because he promised on his own 200 community-day senior high schools. Now, the president tells us out of the 200 that he promised, only 123 have been initiated. Out of the 123 that have been initiated, so far only 10 have been commissioned. That does not appear to be a good record, given the manner in which the promise was made and the expectations thereof.
Well, I think if you look at the size of the project, and you know, in project cycle, you have where the project is designed, and then the project is executed, and then several phases until commissioning. And so this is a project that had to go through several processes. And you know that our procurement processes are such that you cannot, there are no shortcuts to our procurement process. You have to go through a lot before you get these things done. And then the structure itself is such that if you understand engineering, you cannot just get up and put up a 4-story structure in a rush. You need to give time to the process of curing. You need to ensure that if you put your concrete there, the 21-day mandatory period is there. You have your consultants to come and test the quality of the foundation and so on and so forth to give you the opportunity to go ahead. And so it had to go through all processes. And I believe that if you look at the target that we give ourselves and the level of work that has been done, I personally think that it is very, very satisfactory.
But there lies a problem, isn't it? Because at the time that the promise was being made, President John Mahama was president, and as president, he gets briefings on a daily basis. So he would have consulted his engineers, he would have consulted ASL, he would have consulted all the key institutions and individuals that advise on this, and he would have known the amount of work it would take before making the promise. For the beneficiaries, they would have thought that once the president gave his word, he has taken into consideration all of this, and therefore by 2016, they would have expected to have 200 schools delivered, or at least half.
I have visited a number of the projects, and I can tell you that by the close of this year, I believe that about half would have been delivered. And for me, I think it's quite commendable.
Because within the next 3 months, we can commission 90 schools.
As I speak to you now, a number of them have been completed. And even the president has directed that they should not wait for commission. They should start populating the schools.
Yes, I've heard that. In fact, yes. But they, and I'll come back to you. Yeah. There are those who say some of the 123 initiated are actually just at foundation level.
No. I have visited a number of these school projects, and a number of them are either at the lintel, some are painting, some are almost ready for commissioning. A number of them have been completed, and the directive has been issued that they should start populating it for the new academic year.
Alfred, your party started this whole process of free senior high school. The president said that it was not a feasible idea in 2012, and that the best way to achieve that was to do it progressively. So he decided that, okay, let's build community day schools so that in areas that are underserved, people can have access to school. That is a commendable thing to do, isn't it?
It's commendable if only you go according to your words and your promises you've made, the pledges you've made to the Ghanaian people. Because come to tell us that I'm going to build 200 community day schools, and not even 1/10 of them has materialized at the moment. And we are 3 months to elections. Since February 2016, Okujeto Ablakwa, Honorable Deputy Minister for Education, was interviewed on air, and he was saying that we have 123 at various stages of completion. Out of the 123, as I'm speaking now, since that time till now, they've commissioned about 10. And they are still telling us that we have 123. It tells you that there are so many levels of untruth in what they are saying. Listen, when you even put a pickaxe down into the soil, it's at a level of completion. Because once you've started work, you've even laid the foundation, or you've even dug the hole, it's a level of completion. Because you are going to complete the what do you call it, the foundation, and complete up to the lintel, and complete up to the roofing. So this 123, they are telling us various stages of completion. They have been on various stations. They've called the Deputy Minister for Tertiary Education, is it basic education or tertiary education, that let us see the various places that you have the 123. He said, I'm going to make the list available to you, even by close of day today. Yesterday, I was listening to one other person on Peace FM and was saying that, oh, before the close of today, I'll make the list available to you. And up till now, you still can't get that list to go and visit those sites. It's, you see, it's your word, as he sits here to say that, oh, I've been there. Yes, you have been there. Because you can go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places and tell me that I've been there, and there are various places of completion.
Believes that by at least we can have
I cannot take him for his word, because this is a president and a government who has told me that, listen, give me 4 years and I'm going to deliver 200 schools to you. 4 years, I'm going to deliver 200 schools. And even in the last year of the 4th year, he hasn't been able to deliver even 25%, even 10% of what he's promised me. And you want me to believe your words by saying that I have been to the school and I have seen it, and it's at various stages of completion.
We can credit them for being forthright and being honest in admitting that.
Listen, when you go into details,
there were challenges.
When you go into details, the challenges are that they don't have funding for it.
We have not been able to build the 200 that we promised you, which is the mark of a good leader, that I promised you this, I can't give you that.
Let's see a percentage. That is, you can say that, oh, it's quite good, it's quite commendable. If you had given me about 50, I'll say, oh wow, he's getting somewhere. So maybe before the end of this year, I can see maybe an extra 50 or an extra 10 or something. Anything you are getting there.
Is it your view that we can't have at least 100 schools, as Mr. For example, who is saying we can't have at least 100 schools by December?
My brother, they keep on saying 123 since February. And 123 never decreases or increases. And we have still a month in, month out. The president goes out to commission one school after another.
Why are we not putting out the list? Why don't we put out the list so that people who wish to track the schools can do that?
Well, I think it's not difficult at all to put out the list, because I had the Deputy Minister for Education, Okujetu, indicating clearly that by the close of this year, what would have been completed and could be habitated will be about 70 plus. And I'm saying that if you have even started 123 and you can complete 70 of them by the close of this year, it's quite commendable, because, I mean, if you go around and you look at the projects, and I've indicated that at least I have not gone around the whole country, but in areas that I have visited, I mean, when you go to just at Atomic here, and Accra here, you see the level of completion of that project there. When you go to Kwao Football, I was in Afram Plains over the weekend. Mami Krobo, it has reached roofing stage and they are almost complete. So I'm saying that when we say it's at various stages of complete, we are not talking about digging. The structures are there, and the community and the people who are beneficiaries know. You see, it depends, because, for instance, when you give projects, there is a contractor, one of the contractors who finished the first one in the Western region. I mean, he did it within a record time. It depends on the ability of the contractor, his proficiency, his mobilization capacity, and so on and so forth. And you see, those ones, you can give the project out. You cannot determine that. You give projects, and we all know that contractors are giving projects, and based on their capacity and their ability to deliver and their resourcefulness, others are able to complete before others. But I can tell you that generally, I mean, the level of completion of this senior high school project is quite commendable.
Honorable, let's look at basic schools. One of the major planks of the NDC's campaign, especially in 2008, after 2008, one of the major achievements that the Mills government touted was the elimination of schools under trees. And the government at the time built a little less than 1,700 schools, which were originally schools under trees. In the 2012 manifesto, and this little less than 1,700, the government said constituted 40% of basic schools that were under trees. In the 2012 manifesto, the promise was to eliminate the remaining 60%. And this remaining 60% is 2,574 or so, I think. Yesterday, the president said so far, the government has delivered 1,614. That leaves quite a chunk. So within the 4 years, this promise to eliminate the 60% of the basic schools under trees has also not been achieved.
Well, it's still an ongoing exercise. If you go to Get Fund, you see the records there that contracts are being awarded as and when, because you see it is contingent upon the availability of resources. And you see, when you take Get Fund, for instance, the money comes out of our taxes. So it is as and when money is available. So it's an ongoing process. And I believe that if you go around the country, you obviously see that in several parts of this country, schools under trees are a thing of the past. You know, it is not an event, it's a process. And I believe that the process is still ongoing and will still remain focused. You see, but there are some key indicators that you need to look at when you are looking at education. You are not looking at infrastructure alone. You are looking at a situation of, for instance, when you come to primary education between 2008 to 2009, the total number of kindergartens that we have was about 16,439. By 2014-2015, we have increased it to 20,960, which means that we added 4,552 kindergartens within that period. Again, when you come to primary schools, in 2008-2009 academic year, we had 17,881. By 2014-2015, we have increased it to 21,309, which means that we have added 3,428 primary schools. You see, and this is quite significant. It shows that our promise that we will increase access as part of our progressive free education we'll increase access, we'll expand infrastructure, and then we will try and ensure that in all aspects, in all facets of our education. And let me just quickly add the junior high school. In the junior high school, we had 10,213 junior high schools in 2008-2009. We've increased it to about 13,000 plus. So I can go and on and indicate that in all these areas, I mean, that one, we added in the senior secondary school, junior secondary school, we added 3,627. Again, in senior high schools, we had 670 senior high schools in the country by 2008-2009. By 2015, we had added 840, which means we had added 170. So
I guess the figures, we know them.
Yes.
Because if you take basic school, for example, by 2008, we had about 45,447 students enrolling. This number has increased to 57,000, which represents 26% increase. And those are the figures that the Ghana Education Service has and which the president relied on. And this was actually at the upper basic level. At the lower level, the numbers are even bigger. The problem is when you tell people that, and this is your 2012 manifesto, under education, you will eliminate the remaining 60% of identified schools under trees and provide decent facilities for all rural schools. This is a specific promise made to the people of Ghana. The people of Ghana bought this manifesto and voted for you. They had every right to believe that you will live by this promise. 4 years down the line, you have done 1,614. You have 964 to do. The communities that probably voted for you, which form part of this 964, why should they vote for you again?
They will vote for us because they have kept faith with us, because they know that, look, when we promise, we deliver. There is evidence that it is an ongoing process, and the process is going on.
If you deliver to Katwa, it doesn't mean that you have delivered to my village, Palwogo.
For instance, we talk about 200 senior high schools. 123 are already ongoing. So those who haven't got it know that, look, this is a government which promises and delivers. So if we haven't gotten ours will definitely come. So let us renew their mandate to enable them to continue to fulfill that promise that they have given us. The fact that you have
delivered for somebody, it should be immaterial to me, because you promised me that you will give me this, and I voted for you on the basis of that promise.
Because it is a process, and it is an ongoing process, and it is not an event, they will still have confidence in the system.
But this is not what you told the voters were honorable.
But I'm saying that, you see, we promise. The promise that we promise to build 200 senior high schools.
Eliminate.
We promise to eliminate.
All of them.
Elimination is a process. It's not an event. And that is what you must understand. That is it's a process, and the process is ongoing. And once it's ongoing, it gives hope to the people that definitely there will be light at the end of the tunnel, and they'll get here, and they'll get yes.
Alfred,
yes, my brother.
For a government, so by 2009, that means your government failed to eliminate the schools under trees.
They did about 40%.
So the NDC government in 2009 to 2012 built almost 1,700. And from 2013 to 2016 now, they've built another 1,614. 964 to go. This clearly should be remarkable achievements.
My brother, when you are looking at it, look at it on percentage terms. When we were leaving office in 2008, 2009, you realize that we had done 40% of the elimination of schools under trees. And they claimed they were going to continue and finish the 60% remaining.
No, they actually said that they did 40% between 2008 and 2012.
We did 40%. Go and check the statistics. We did 40%. And they said they were going to finish the 60% before their term of office.
Let me read from their
the elimination of schools under trees was started by Professor Mills. So I don't know when you started. You started doing those 40%.
Are you sure?
That process, that process
My
of
brother, go and
elimination
check,
of schools under trees
please, it
was a
started
policy prank by the most administration.
If you don't put it under a policy, doesn't mean that you have to start it.
Honest, if they're under the HIPIC initiatives, the NPP, the
Did a
federal
lot of
government
that.
also
What are you
removed a
talking
lot
about?
of schools under trees.
You
But
see,
the
that is-
reality is,
let me tell you
the
something.
reality
Basic
is that
basic
it was
education. You
in
see,
the, it
the
was in the
problem-
20, let me,
Yeah.
it was in the 2012 manifesto of the NDC that it stated that it had eliminated 40% of schools under trees. And that,
2012, they had eliminated 40.
yes, they had eliminated 40 between 20,
Then maybe it
between
was the 40 after
2000
the 60 they are talking about.
No, between 2009 and 2012, they had eliminated 40%. There was a remaining 60%. And
Maybe
they said,
they are talking 40 out of the 60 that they, because if you check from their 2009 manifesto, that's what they said, that we had done 60 and we're going to do the remaining. One of their budget statements, they stated it there. Now, I'm giving you an example of another thing they claimed they are going to do. That, you see, what I realize about the NDC is that they don't read. They don't appreciate.
can we deal with the primary schools? Because I want
this is a basic. It's a basic school.
Yeah.
Now, they said that they were going to what? They were going to do the training of teachers for the basic education. Because at the moment, they didn't have teachers for basic education. One thing they didn't go and do, the homework they didn't go and do is that at UCC now, they are training teachers for basic education. And it's been ongoing for some time now. They are doing it for diploma and they are doing it for degree awarding. So if you come and stand as a president and tell me that I'm going to train teachers for basic education because you are not doing it now, I start to wonder.
I don't quite get the point.
No.
What I do know,
basic education teachers training is an ongoing. It is there. The colleges of education are training people for the basic education.
What I do know is that the president promised, and it was actually in the 2012 manifesto, to construct 10 new teacher training colleges. Colleges of
no,
education.
I'm talking about basic education. Yesterday's statement he was reading. Check from it. Yesterday, if you have the tape there, go back and listen to it. I sat down and I was putting down the points one after another. And I was very interested in this. Because in 2012, I was the candidate for Cape Coast for NPP.
Okay.
So
parliamentary.
Yeah. So I knew about the educational sector very well because I was visiting UCC a lot. And you know, you need to ask questions that would help you to give you an informed decision about what is going on. And they have reps on their council, the UCC council. So it's surprising to me that they are now telling us that they are going to train teachers for the basic, the kindergarten, the basic level.
Maybe they may have been talking about increased numbers because
even today, I went to, what do you call it? Is it 3FM? And one of their people, he's called Kofi also, stated that they haven't started, but they are now coming to know it. So it means that they
I find that difficult to believe because Alfred, I went to training college. And I was trained for basic school. And many of the teacher training colleges, which are now colleges of education,
was that they were going to start from kindergarten because kindergarten wasn't part of it. That is the kindergarten one they are talking about.
No. Oh. You see,
he was talking about kindergarten. That is going to
previously, the basic school was started from class 1.
Class 1, yes.
And now under the new system, kindergartens are part of the basic school concept. If a teacher is trained for basic school, that teacher teaches from kindergarten to any part of the basic schools. So it is not true. It is not true that we have now started training basic school teachers.
He stated yesterday that they were going to train.
Then maybe you didn't hear it well.
I think that we may have to look for exactly what was promised because what I do know was a training college.
The training colleges, they haven't even done one. They said we're going to build 10.
How do you promise to build 10 colleges of education? And I believe that this promise may have been informed by information available to the government because remember that this promise was made when you were in government. So when you make a promise, that promise must have been grounded on a solid foundation. How is it that 4 years down the line, you know that about 5 private colleges of education have been absorbed into the government system? Yes.
As part of the expansion
and
project.
by the way, what does that mean? Because you're not paying allowances. If you absorb them, what does it mean?
It becomes government schools.
But you're not spending any much money.
We spend money on them. We spend money on them. Again, the expansion that has taken place in the 38 colleges of education and the increase in enrollment even compensate for the expansion that we were talking about. Because the increase in enrollment is phenomenal, about 40% increase in enrollment in the colleges of education as a result of the abolition of the allowances system. We've been able to increase enrollment in the 38 colleges of education exponentially.
Honorable, why didn't the government know that construction was not, after all, a sensible idea?
Can you come again?
Why is it that you didn't know that promising that you will construct or you will build colleges of education was not a smart idea? Because if the problem is to increase number of trained teachers, just expand the existing ones. How is it that you didn't know this?
We knew, because the expansion did not start today.
10 schools.
The expansion of the 38 colleges for education did not start today. And you go to all the colleges of education and you see massive infrastructure development there.
How did
and that infrastructure development that is being done is expanding and increasing the intake capacity of those schools. So it compensates for it. Because at the end of the day, you want to train teachers. And you want to increase the number of trained teachers. And so if you expand the infrastructure in the 38 colleges of education and you're able to achieve your target of increasing the number of intake for trainee teachers,
you have achieved the results.
You have achieved the results.
Using a different vehicle.
You have achieved the results, yes.
Does it matter that you made a promise that you haven't...
But again, I'm telling you that in addition to that, 5 extra colleges of education has been absorbed, private sector, into the government sector.
Now, the president said you are building a college of education in Swedru, in the central region. Why should we believe that this will happen? And I think 4 years down the line, you will not come back and give us another explanation why you couldn't do that.
And one will be in New Abrim. The fact of the matter is that the president has walked the talk in various areas that he promised. In the area of infrastructure, everybody can see clearly.
And we will deal with infrastructure in a jiffy. Let me take Alfred's bite on this one. 10 colleges, they were not built, but the government would say it was prudent enough. It created grounds for numbers to increase, enrollments to increase, so you will get the same results.
My brother, when you tell me I'm going to build you a house, and you tell me, oh, I've absorbed someone's house, there are two different things. There are two different things. They categorically stated that they were going to build 10 training colleges in every region. The same way they said they were going to build 10 stadiums of 50,000 seating capacity in every region. They keep on, promising and promising and promising. And that is why we keep on saying that this is a president you can't trust, because he promised you one thing and he comes around and tells you that, I wasn't able to build, I absorbed.
Did they promise to build 10 stadiums in every region?
Yes. 10 of 50,000 seating capacity. And in every district, they were going to build a stadium of 15,000 seater capacity. He's here. He's part of the manifesto team. Ask him if I'm lying. And it didn't start today. Okay. You see?
So that's true. They actually said the continuation of the programs of providing sports stadia to regional capitals.
MPB, you don't lie. You state it as it is. Now, coming back to this, the teacher training. You haven't been able to do it. Then you go on and promise. Listen, there was one phenomenal thing MPP was doing that when they came, they weren't able to continue. And that was giving the core textbooks for every child in school. We're giving it to the extent that even the private schools started enjoying that benefit. Then when they came, they gave only one textbook one core textbook to the children that they should learn. They should use it. Yes,
no. This time round, we have improved from 1 to 3 textbooks per student. Yes.
Because the president yesterday, the president
when
gave us
you 12.5. When you came and the students were being given their core books, they were getting one each. All the students were getting one core book each. And you come and you can't do it continually. And now you tell me that you are giving 3. And you tell I should clap for you. Then you come on and come and I'm coming. You come on and come and tell me now that, even the 3 that you are giving which you can't give, now you are going to turn it into a tablet. Come on, we are joking.
The president said that 12.5 million textbooks have been distributed.
Yes.
My brother, we are giving more. I'm giving you, listen.
From the beginning of this academic year alone, about 12.5 million textbooks.
What were we doing before?
That the average has increased from 1 to 1 to 3 is to 1.
What did you come and meet
Yes.
before?
I'm saying it was 1-to-1, and now it's 3-to-1.
What did you come and meet before? We were giving them core textbooks per student.
In terms of
And you come and you can't do that. And you tell me I should give you a
production of
thumbs
books,
up.
it is very clear that we have even supplied beyond the expectation.
So,
But you make a good
so
record and
once
you
the-
destroyed it, and now you're telling me that I should clap for
No.
you because you
What
clap.
record have we discussed? We have not destroyed the record.
Listen, how many course subjects do you have? About 8 of them.
Look,
And they were giving
currently,
textbooks for them.
listen, currently,
8 textbooks.
currently,
Listen, it's not
see,
about your manifesto.
No.
It's about what you
It
make
is
and
a
you
record.
destroy.
It is not manifesto.
Let's listen
It is
to
not.
John.
It is. You see, currently, the book to people ratio is 4:1, which means that 4 textbooks is to 1 person. That is what we have achieved now under the current dispensation. And you said 1-to-1, and we say now, well, 4 textbooks is to 1 student. That's
1-to-1 how? 1 textbook to 1 person. That was what we were
So
doing.
what he's
And there were
saying now
8.
is that
There were
that
about
one
8
person,
core subjects.
What he's now saying is that one person now has 4
Four
textbooks.
But we are saying that the
textbooks.
core subjects, we're all getting the core subjects.
And I'm
that
saying
was
that-
about 8 subjects. And you are telling me that 1 is to 4 and we should clap for you. Core subjects. There were about 8 core subjects.
Before
My
the
brother, 8
before
core
the
subjects.
NDC, before
And
the
you
NDC,
you've dropped
before
it.
the
Come
NDC
on.
took over, it was 1 textbook. People were sharing. They used to share 1 textbook. 3 people used to share 1 textbook.
Go
That
and check
is a
your
record.
records. Go
That
and
is
check
a
your
record.
records. It is never true.
Before we took
was
over,
1
it
is to
was
1.
1, and that is what we say. 3 children were sharing 1 textbook.
Never.
Today, it is 1 child, 4 textbooks.
We have
brother.
to take a break. When we come back,
My
we'll be
brother.
doing the economy. We are discussing manifestos. You know that
brother.
manifestos are always, they always
Go and check your
generate
records.
heated arguments.
That's in
When
the
we come
records.
back, we
That's
will
in the
look at
records.
the economy.
That is the
And
records.
the promise that
We're
was
getting
made,
books.
what was delivered, what is being promised again. You're watching PM Express. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back. You're watching PM Express, and we are discussing political party manifestos. The President of the nation, John Dramani Mahama, only yesterday gave us highlights of his party's manifesto in the 2016 election, what he seeks to achieve. Let's listen to him, what he has achieved so far, and the projections going forward into 2017 if he wins.
This is what the agenda for transformation suggests. This transformation entails a move away from over-reliance on commodity exports towards diversification and value addition. All of these have begun already, and they will be sustained and accelerated over the next 4 years. An integral part of the NDC's agenda for transformation is our unwavering belief that Ghana's greatest wealth is its people. Our country will continue to rise as we focus a large part of our developmental efforts in harnessing the skills, potentials, and ingenuity of our people. There's tremendous potential in the Ghanaian to create, innovate, and transform our nation. As leader of the NDC and government, our policies, programs, and projects have been directed at putting people first, building a strong economy for jobs, expanding infrastructure for accelerated development, and advancing transparent and accountable governance. We've been vindicated as we have seen huge payoffs in terms of access to education, access to healthcare, and other social services. This has led to improved educational outcomes and favorable health indices for our people. We've undertaken in some instances completed major institutional reforms and built strong and viable institutions. We've invested in building robust infrastructure to stimulate economic growth. This has created jobs, and we intend to create even more jobs. Addressing unemployment and creating job opportunities will be at the core of my renewed mandate. With the renewed mandate I'm seeking, we will continue policies and programs and introduce new initiatives that are consistent with our key social democratic principles of equity in development. We still have more roads to construct. We have more houses to build. We have more food to produce. We have additional educational and health facilities to provide, and we have more jobs to create. Indeed, these are also key demands of the Global Compact encapsulated in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which we have agreed to uphold. With the collaboration of the Bank of Ghana, we shall institute mechanisms that will significantly lower the cost of credit and position the private sector to play its role in the transformation agenda. Already and systematically, we are changing lives and we're transforming Ghana.
We just played you parts, just a bit of what he presented yesterday at the banquet hall. Let me come back into the studio and talk to Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo. When the president spoke about transformational agenda, expanding infrastructure, building the economy, let's deal with the economy. In the 2012 manifesto, the NDC promised to grow the economy by an average of 8% per annum. That didn't quite happen. The president, when he was opening his remarks on the economy, said, we have revived the economy. Since when did the economy collapse for him to revive it?
Well, first of all, we all know the kind of challenge that we had, especially in the energy sector. And you know that once you have energy, it powers industry, and then it leads to economic growth. And so when you have challenges like we encountered when President Mahama took over in terms of the energy deficit and the effort that he has made, you know, to, as it were, fix the problem, because as we sit here now, doing so now belongs to history, and we are making strong effort to ensure that in the ensuing years, Ghana will become even a net exporter of energy. So now that the energy situation has stabilized, then of course you have a situation where, industry, takes off, and then the service sector is running and everything. So virtually when he says that the revival has taken place and the takeoff is in the offing, it is evident that once you have resolved this energy crisis, of course, the takeoff will naturally,
He was vice president from 2009 to 2012, part of 2012. The economy grew. The economy had its highest growth ever in 2011, of course, on the onset of oil. In 2012, the economy grew by 8.8%. And then 2013, it grew by 7.6%. So that was a buoyant economy. So how does the president now come and say, I have stabilized the economy? If he has stabilized the economy, then he collapsed it. And if he collapsed, if he stabilized an economy, he collapsed, we can't clap for him.
But you know that when you talk about the growth with the oil, it started when we started producing oil in commercial quantity. So obviously, and the rebasing of the economy, it obviously changed the indices. And so you can't use that 1 year of, to measure.
Yeah, but even in 2012, the growth was 8.8, which was good.
But I indicated that we had challenges. We had challenges. We didn't collapse the economy. We had challenges with the power sector, and one can say that
and he
has, because if you look at the fact that within a relatively 3-year period, 110 megawatts of steam of a T2 power plant at Abuazi had been added on, 250 megawatts Ameri power plant, 225 car power badge, yes. 220 Kuntema power plant, and 180 megawatt first part of the Asogli plant, 38 megawatt TTP plant, 2 megawatt solar plant, and several others which are ongoing.
Great.
It shows that the president didn't sleep on the job.
But
the president didn't sleep on the job. And you ask that in a recent past history, which government has been able to increase our energy by such over 1,000 megawatts has been added relatively in three years.
At the time that he was
it shows that he has not slept on the job, and he has fixed the problem. And once he has fixed the problem, there is a ray of hope that the economic takeoff is on. And that all the indicators shows that Ghana is taking off, and the future looks very, very bright.
At the time that he made this promise, Honorable, the energy challenge was there. And he appeared to be in denial, because at every stage he said, we will fix it. The steps that ought to have been taken to fix it were delayed. If those steps were taken early enough, we would have fixed the problem quickly. and our growth would not have slumped to 3.9 in 2015.
Yeah. Well, I think
so the failing is hers.
Contrary to the situation when the MPP time, people went to the Kosovo dams to go and pray for water to come in. We didn't. We took pragmatic steps.
You are referring to President Kufuor.
We took pragmatic steps to ensure that the generation capacity is increased. Today, you know what is happening? The level of the Kosovo is at one of its lowest because of, and we know climatic change, and you know what has happened in countries like Venezuela and others, where the economy is even shut down because they couldn't provide, measures to resolve the challenges that has come as a result of climate change. But if you look at the Ghanaian situation, we have lived up to expectation. We have really worked very hard to ensure that this problem did not overcome us, and we have overcome the problem. And so I think we need to pat the president.
A huge cost to the Ghanaian people.
Yes, but
because
if you do the cost benefit analysis, this is the best decision that ought to have been taken. If we are not taking these steps to ensure that these emergency power budgets and others were brought on board, what would have been the situation? Others brought generators that they themselves describe as toy generators, which couldn't produce any single megawatt of power.
Reku Brobe's comment. Yeah. You should commend the president for dealing with Dumso at least.
Yeah, I'll commend the president. I'll show you how I'll commend the president. He said that the president wasn't sleeping. But when I show you the facts and figures, you see that the president slept and even snored. Let me tell you why. In 2000, when we took over the reins of government, we had 3.7 growth. Yeah, 2001. The GDP growth was 3.7. We increased it to 9.1 in 2008. And you realize that it was a steady growth. Now, immediately, NDC took over. And John Mahama being the chairman of the economic management team.
As vice president.
As vice president. He was the chairman of the economic management team. It dropped to 4.8 in 2009. As we speak in 2015, it's 3.9, even with oil revenue. That's our GDP growth. So such a person, if he's got that increment and has dropped to 3.9, even with the way there was the, what do you do? It was 7.7 in 2010 and 14% in 2011. So you realize that he's not to the extent that the GDP growth dropped, even with the oil revenue. It tells you that the man doesn't know what he's about. He hasn't got. Please, you are giving your figures and you are truncating all the jobs that.
Okay, so speak to your figures, now, and then we don't have too much.
You see, between 2008 and 2008, the size of the economy grew from 5.1 billion to 28.5 billion dollars, a growth of 459% increase within 8 years of NPP. Now let's come to what do you call it? Even around that time, we had the barrel of oil crude going for $147 per barrel, which shows that $147 per barrel. So it shows you how the growth was. Now, economic growth in 2008 rose to 9.1. Notwithstanding the discovery of oil, it has only increased to 28.5 billion in 2008 to a projected 40 billion in 2016. It tells you that in the 8 years of the NDC government, they've grown the economy by only 40%. Even with all he's saying that we've done this, we've done that, we've done that, you've grown the economy in 8 years by 40%, whilst NPP grew it by 459%. It tells you that the man is not only sleeping, but he's snoring on the job, which means that he's not competent enough to run the economy. Honorable. He doesn't understand the basic principles of running this economy.
Honorable, let's look at the...
only under John Mahama's term, just a minute, under John Mahama's term, during his term, the economy in dollar terms shrank by 5%. Why are we saying that? Because when he was taking over from the reins of President Atta Mills, it was hovering around 17%. Now, as we speak, it has declined. The GDP per capita has declined to 12%, which shows that it's gone down. It's gone down by 5%. So it tells us that he is not on top of his game.
Let me...
Directly speaking, he's incompetent on the job.
But you will also admit that in 2015, the economy slumped to 3.9. Second quarter this year is 4.9, which
2015 it slumped from where to 3.9?
Well, it slumped from 8.8 in 2012 to 3.9.
And you tell me that is a good. You tell me that is good result. By whose cause? Who was in charge of? Who was steering the affairs of the economy?
Second quarter, it started picking up again. What I wanted us to do is do two things. Look at the promises to do a number of things, and let's look at health. Let me start with what the president is hoping to do in terms of infrastructure. Stadiums. He said he will build stadia in Upper East, Upper West, Volta region, Eastern region, and Western region. These are areas that do not have stadia already. You want to expand the Kayaye 10th. He says so far about 1,000 of them have been listed. You want to expand it to about 10,000. We know that LEAP has been expanded to 150,000. He hopes to extend that again. Prisons are to be expanded. Where is the money going to come from?
Well, in the first place, let's ask ourselves, where has the money come from for us to do the massive infrastructure that we have done now in terms of road network?
Excessive borrowing.
In terms of, you see,
it's been excessive borrowing.
You borrow to expand your economy. You are expanding your economy in the productive sector. Today, the Eastern Corridor Road, do you know how long it took people? Those farmers who brought their farm produce from the northern region through the Eastern Corridor Road, sometimes they took 5 days. When it rains, sometimes 1 week. They get stuck, their yams get rotten, and a whole lot of things. Today, as a result of the improvement of the road network, it takes 1 day to move in. So you know what we are doing? The person who was spending about 1 week to get to Accra and go back, that driver, you are putting money in his pocket. That trader, is the turnaround is very fast. Go to Kwame Nkrumah Circle here. Look at the interchange. Do you know how many hours people were spending in traffic? Taxi drivers were spending between 30 to 45 minutes in traffic. Today, it takes less than 5 to 10 minutes, you are off, even though the project has not completed. Go to Kasua and check those who travel to Cape Coast, especially over the weekend. You spend about 3 to 4 hours there. We are constructing 3 interchanges. You know what it's going to do in the lives of people? It is going to ease traffic. It is going to improve upon business. Every facet of the infrastructure development that we are doing, which we are putting money in, is to ensure that we build the infrastructure in order to turn the economy around, in order to accelerate the rate of doing business and move the economy forward. Let me go on. If you come to the health sector, you want to build a nation. A healthy people is a wealthy nation. Look at what we have done. Go to region, go and see. Go and see the infrastructure development that is taking place in terms of rich hospital. Go to police hospital. Go to maritime hospital. The president came to Tema recently. The president spent a whole day at GPHA, Tema Port, because of the massive infrastructure development that we have done there, including the International Maritime Hospital, a 130-bed capacity hospital with the state-of-the-art facilities, the military hospital that is being constructed in Shanti region. Go to KJTR market. We are constructing the biggest market in West Africa. You know what it's going to do in the lives of the people there, it is going to boost commerce. So we are saying that people who are saying that we are borrowing to expand the economy.
But when you
and that is why the future looks good for us, because in every aspect of our lives, we are trying to improve upon the situation.
The problem is, if you borrow to an extent that your interest payments alone is 10.5 billion in 1 year, when allocations to key sector ministries, 6 key sector ministries, is 2.1 million. That is a problem. We just took a Eurobond, $750 million. I know that part of that money is going to go into retiring the 2007 bond.
Yeah, because we started, when we took over, we started retiring and paying bond that they took.
Agreed, but we have taken 4 bonds since then.
And they have to sell Ghana Telecom to survive in 2008. So you see,
and you are doing the same with ECG, even though we say that it's a concessionaire.
We are not selling ECG. We are not selling ECG. We are injecting efficiency into the utility companies, because everywhere in this world,
so that Ghanaians will put their money in it.
Competition has engendered efficiency.
And I agree with you. We have seen
at the
telecom sector. Yes.
What has happened? So why are we afraid? When the president decided to even deregulate the downstream of the petroleum industry, and then decided that government was not going to fix prices again. Look at the environment. Look at the environment that we are operating in as far as the petroleum.
In 30 seconds, do you not see us having a noose tightening around our necks with the rate at which we are borrowing? Because if interest payments alone is more than 4 times your oil revenues, that's a big, big problem. Now, if you have commodity prices, cocoa and gold going down, and you are virtually viscerating your oil resources through interest payment, where is the money going to come from?
Well, first of all,
because it will get to a point where you can't even pay.
First of all, government is expanding infrastructure in the oil business. You know that FPU, the second FPU, has been constructed and commissioned.
The Atamils one.
The meaning is that we are going to increase productivity. And once you are increasing productivity, and mind you, you are talking about oil revenue. You know where we projected oil prices and where it is now.
And so but you slap taxes on it. And 30 seconds that I have to give him to make a point before
seriously, the revenue inflows that one would have expected to generate.
Thank you very much. You see why we keep on saying that the president and his team, they are incompetent? Because they do not get it. They do not understand, and they will never understand. Because if you refuse to learn, you can never understand anything. You can't appreciate the problem. You can never get where you want to get to. My point is that if apart from wages and salaries, if your second highest bill on your budget is the interest payment, then what are you doing? It's even more than the infrastructure development you are doing. It tells you that you don't know what you are about. You forever be incompetent in the job you are doing. We cannot give someone like that a second chance. You cannot give someone like another 4 years. It doesn't look right.
That is why the future looks very, very bright.
It looks bleak.
Very, very bright. All indicators show that the future is very, very bright. Very, very, very bright.
The director of elections
when I use all my funding to pay interest,
exciting discussion
because the expansion in the infrastructure and things that we are doing is going to ensure that